You ever seen these schools that have the big round thing where they drop the kids in, and if there's a fire and they come out, and it's called a fire escape?
Yes.
The big metal thing.
Uh-huh.
Well, I lived about a block from school, and at night a lot of us went up there and played. And we figured out a way to get into school.
That's
we
cool.
pulled the gate open down at the bottom. It was like a big metal thing. It had big springs on, boom, like that. And we pulled that open, and we got upstairs, and we could unlatch it, and just go in there. We could do whatever we wanted to.
Oh, how fun.
But we never touched it. Nobody ever knew we was in there.
That was smart.
Just left things alone.
That was hard to do.
But boy, it felt really big. Being sitting up there looking out the window.
Yeah.
And about
When
33
school's
stories.
Is that how you met her? Or that how you
She
met
was
her?
in that school. She was in that bunch that came up there once in a while. And her name was Loretta Davis. Hey, it was fun. I still remember that.
What? I know. What did she look like?
That's been 68 years ago.
Yeah.
Was she blonde or?
No, she was a dark-haired girl. I thought she was pretty. I don't know if anybody else thought she was pretty or not.
That's all that matters.
But see, at that time, I had a job. I got me a job working at the school with this old janitor. Every room I cleaned, I got 10 cents for it. So I'd hire me a guy to help me, and then we'd go upstairs, and these runners that I was talking about that they bolted to the floor for the desk, well, that left a path underneath there, and the hardest part was cleaning them. So I put him on one end and me at the other, and I take the broom and go shoot to that end. He'd turn it around.
That's pretty
And
smart.
we can make a half a buck there. So there's 5 rooms. It didn't take you but 2 minutes.
That is pretty smart. And you were 10?
I was in the 6th grade.
Okay, 11, 12.
So then you'd have to split the money, but you got it done twice as fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'd give him X amount of, I'd set a amount with him. I wouldn't let him, he didn't know what I was getting.
That's cool. Yeah, you were smart to think that already.
And then me and my girlfriend could go to school, for
The
12 cents a piece. I could take her to school and have some popcorn.
Oh, I love it.
So
I love it. What about like the fountain shops or the soda shops? Could you take it to like?
we had the alibi. Yeah.
Cool. Did you got like ice cream shakes?
Yeah, it was nothing raw there. It was just plain old shakes and cokes and
that's it.
Visiting mostly.
I love those kind of
sitting
places.
in the booths, carting your name in the corner. That's about it. I came when I first came up here. This is another little story I'll tell you. When I first came up here, I was 17 years old. I just walked away from everything and told Mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to leave home. Me and another guy decided we were going to go see the world.
Where did you come? Where were you?
We was in Southern Illinois in Carbondale.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah, and I was about 17 years old. Well, I was 17. I just turned 17, and but back then it was a lot different being 17 than it is now. It wasn't, if we got a bottle of beer, we had to share it with somebody. We had to pay for it, and he drank half of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. What was
So you told her you're just gonna leave. You're leaving town.
Yeah, I left town, and
You're 17.
I come up to got a job in National Harvest. I was gonna get rich.
Yeah.
Me and this other guy, we came over to see Homer. Homer worked over here then at the mill. Well, he threw such a fit that he didn't like the idea of me being alone at 17 years old. So I finally let him talk me into staying, and he helped me get a job. I went to work on Monday morning or Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock. I went to work down there.
Really?
Here I am. Been there ever since.
Jeez. How long did you work at the mill?
If you take the time I was on the political end of it, it was 40 years.
Long time.
Isn't that crazy?
I was telling her about.
You never would have known that either. When you stepped on that lot to work there, you'd be there 40 years.
How you went up to New York and you spoke at what school was that?
Harvard.
Harvard, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason I did that, the reason they asked me to do that, when there came an ESOP is employee ownership, and we were going to buy the company. The employees were going to buy 51% of the company, and we had to negotiate all that. And we could put 2 people out of the 4,000 people in the mill. We could take 2 people and put them on the board of 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had 3 guys that worked with us from bigger, like lawyers and stuff like that. So I was ready to retire. I was going to quit. And the guy lives out in the country over there by Cleta. He come by there one day. He said, I have double overdays. So I'm going home and said, I hear they're negotiating to get somebody to take that board job. I said, don't you do with me about that. I'm going to retire. He said, well, I'm going to go put your name in anyway. And son of a gun, who would have thought it, you know? That night I got a call from a guy and he said, President of the Union, he said, I got something I got to ask you. I said, what that? Would you work for the board? I said, no, I'm retiring. He said, I'm going to tell you. He said, we've been haggling for 3 days. The only one we come up with was you and Jack Kelly.
I told her about Jack Kelly.
That's pretty, that's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't want to do it though.
Didn't want to do it. And but they just kept nibbling and nibbling and nibbling. They couldn't, what they had trouble doing, if I had one thing for reputation, it was honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't find nothing. They knew, we all knew each other. We knew if you could trust a guy or couldn't trust him or something like that. And so Jack and I had never had any problems in that area. So that's what they wanted. But anyway, they talked Jack into it. And he came down and he just begged me on my hands and knees, please don't leave me down there. And so I agreed. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll stay till August. That was the first year. And I said, I'll stay till August. We'll see what happens. Maybe I had no intention. They had other people on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no intention of winning that thing. I thought, well, there's 4,000 people there.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I'll stay till August. August came around, Jack and I were both elected. And there I was. Now what do? I did not thinking anything what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked it over with Charlotte, and she said, well, why don't you just go ahead and do it? She said, just do it, and you get tired of it in a year, or whatever. And they elected you, renewed the election every year. Every year. And she said, just do it. She said, you never get a chance to do that again. I said, well, okay, if you don't care, I'll do it. So.
Was that your wife at the time? Wife Charlotte?
Mm-hmm.
So, coming the first of the year though, I retired.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I told him I was going to retire before I quit. And the guy said, the President of the Union said, don't tell nobody. Just wait till you get in there and then you can retire.
No kidding?
Yeah, so I retired. And Jack, well, he was all ticked off because he had to be down there. When you were in the mill, you were fair game for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he got left down there by himself for a little bit, and he said when the first year came, he said, I quit. I'm gonna retire. So here we are. We're both retired.
Mm-hmm.
Working for the people in the mill.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd always worked for the union. I always had a part in it. Never elected office, but just watching after things and helping the guy that did.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go, me and Jack, a couple of hillbillies out of Sterling, Illinois.
No kidding.
And the first thing they did was they wanted to hire a new CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to work. I mean, when you flew someplace, you better be working while you're going there and you know what you're doing, because you get there and you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you look
They'll
stupid.
eat you alive.
Yeah.
So we worked at it pretty hard. We had them build us an office out there at the Union Hall.
Mm-hmm.
The company paid for it, and they gave them the room. And we stayed on there, and we'd get into it, me and Jack even, we couldn't always agree on everything. Some guys said, how do you guys get along so well when you fight so much? Well, sometimes you're not always right.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that went on, and the next year, I told him, I said, they'll get rid of us now, because
They'll get rid of us?
both of us are retired.
You want some sweet tarts?
No. They'd get rid of both of us because we were retired.
Mm-hmm.
He come around and he said, if you guys will run, we won't even have an election.
Wow.
So so finally, you couldn't hardly say no to him.
No.
After all he went through.
Mm-hmm.
So what entailed in the job was I'd be out there, I wore bib overalls, nothing inside but a pair of shorts, and my shoes, and I was working on the farm. I was having a ball. I had a truck garden, and I cut my own wood, and I was just living it up. But